And we are live. Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome back to the Ad Lib Podcast. Today is episode number 97. It's good to be back. And today, with me is the one and only Mr. Franco Rizzo. How's it going, Franco?
Cinema. Welcome. This is reviewy. It cut. We have to do the intro again, man.
No. We're live. We should be good.
No, but I'm following and it cut the intro, so we have to do it again.
Yeah. No. By the way, I haven't worked out how I'm going to show the intro on it. I'm not playing the intro right now.
No. I mean, you said we're live. The we're live was cut because YouTube, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh well.
So and we're live. Welcome again. So last time you were in the safe hands of Andrea. A very quick, condensed, almost 1 hour episode, and today I'm back joining Andrea, reviewing movies, reviewing TV shows, reviewing some games. No, not many games recently. Was there anything
really.
about games?
And I haven't had time to play any games, unfortunately. The most recent one, the most recent news about games was the Video Game Awards nominations. There were some the games which are nominated with Elden Ring. That was quite controversial. The Elden Ring nomination, the DLC, the Earth 3, because it's a DLC, and people are like, why is a DLC getting a nomination over like an actual game? I can see the arguments on both cases. I think Elden Ring was good enough even for its DLC to get nominated. So I don't see any problems with that, to be honest. But yeah, there was some controversy and some discussions. I'm just opening it now just to see what got nominated. I'm opening Game Awards on GameSpot. Game of the Year, we've got Astrobot, Balatro. Let me share it with our viewers. Yeah. So we've got Astrobot, Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring Shadow of the Earth 3, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, and Metaphor Refantats. I have not played. I don't think I played any of these games except for Elden Ring.
But
damn.
Baldur's Gate last year.
Baldur's Gate was last year. Yes, it won last year's Video Game Awards.
Okay.
The Metaphor I haven't heard of. And most of these happen to come out on PS5, and I don't have a PS5 like Astrobot and Final Fantasy 7.
We're gonna get a PS5, so good luck to us.
Best Game Direction, Astrobot. I mean, it's more or less it's the same list. Best
By the way,
and best game direction.
To all the people that are watching, for people say hi, welcome in, and tell us what you have watched. Tell us if you play video games. Tell us, Intom Gamers.
So, Franco, why don't you tell us what you've been watching this week?
Not much. My cinema diet has drastically gone low to the very basic. I've only watched one movie available on YouTube on the Moscow Film Archive, called Cranes Are Flying. And I was blown away by the camera work. Like, I watched it together with a group of international friends over on stream on Twitch, which, by the way, I got unbanned. So that's another
Let's
plug.
Go.
Let's go. And this is by Mikhail Kalatozov. This was by the same director of I Am Cuba. If you remember I Am Cuba, that they have this particular shot where it goes from the crowd, and then it goes into a crane shot, and then it moves onto a wire shot. It is one of the most iconic shots in cinema history, and you see the same virtuosity in the camera work in Cranes Are Flying, and the story is good as well, and the way that the image tells the story was amazing. There was a particular moment when there was the bombing. There was a bombing happening, and then not to spoil the story, something what's happening outside reflects also the interior struggle that's happening, not only in the characters but between the characters. And it's an amazing movie. I think it really went around the world for a Soviet movie. You know, some people say, oh, Soviet Russia, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. Funny enough, I think this was. Did it won Cannes? I don't know if it won the Cannes Special Prize. But it was, again, I highly recommend it.
Yeah,
And,
Palme d'Or.
Palme d'Or, okay. And it went to Palme d'Or for the. I think there's also the cinematographer actually also received like a technical award.
Was
So
it this
there's that.
Tatiana? I don't know who.
No,
that's the
that's
actress.
that's the actress. That's the actress. She's so
Best foreign
gorgeous
actress.
in this. She's so gorgeous in this movie. I think you watched Anna Karenina, right?
I'm reading it right now, coincidentally.
Okay.
I'm reading it. It's a very long book, Madonna. Very, very long book. So yeah, I'm reading it right now.
So yeah, you can watch it on if you can show the YouTube page. Mosfilm have a YouTube page, and there's lots and lots of free movies to watch from the Soviet era.
What is it
I'm not
called,
sure if
Franco? MOS
Film Archive, if I'm not mistaken.
Film Archive. Oh, they've got the mirror. Nice.
Exactly. There's Tarkovsky. There's I think there's also Color of Pomegranates, if I'm not mistaken.
That's very good. That's us. I need to rewatch it. They've got the series, the Anna Karenina series. They're still nice.
I'm not sure. The series. Yes, could be.
Got the whole series, yeah. Even the series is very long. The book is never ending. They've got a lot of these like really long films split up into parts. That's nice.
What did they have? I think they also had War and Peace that they did.
Most probably they've got War and Peace. That was a series as well, no? That was a series with Paul Dano, I believe.
There it is. It's in Spanish.
Okay.
The very first.
Yeah, I found it. All right.
So,
yeah. Anything else, Franco? What have you been up to?
Otherwise, just working. I'm working on a short movie as editor with another person right now. We're gonna meet tomorrow. Interesting as well. And also got suggested as director for the April Fool's Challenge, which reminds me to do a big plug for Indoc Film. It's important that you guys go check it out.
Of him.
It's all about Maltese short movies directed by mostly Maltese directors. There's also some foreign directors based in Malta. Great talent. And there's also the upcoming festival of the comedy short festival called the April Fool's Short Film Festival. Under the auspices of Richard Starkey. So please check it out.
Friend of the show, Richard Starkey.
Kevin Davis, domestic box office going to save Wicked for Universal Pictures. International audience doesn't care for this film.
Interesting you should say that, Kevin, because I went to watch it last night and the cinema was packed. And I felt like there was a lot of hype. Now, probably, I think in Malta, Wicked is quite a big deal.
Listen, remember, the Maltese audiences, you'll never find how shall I say, you'll never understand Maltese audiences, because if in America, the number one movie is, again, I'm giving an example, Godfather, the number one movie in Malta would be The Smurfs.
But funnily enough, in this situation, I think audiences in like Italy, for example, France, Germany, I don't think they'll bite with something like Wicked. I think they'll probably bite more for something like Gladiator. But in Malta, we bite, well, to be fair, we bite for Gladiator 2, because Gladiator 2 was mostly shot in Malta. So that's got the hype there. But we also bite quite a lot for Wicked. We love our Broadway shows here in Malta, and there's a big community, big culture around like theater in Malta, and musicals Moana. Especially. Moana 2 going to make money. Yes, Moana 2 releases next week, I believe, as well. I haven't heard anything about it releasing in Malta so far. As in, I know it's coming out definitely in Malta, but no news about when it's releasing. The only film I know that's releasing this weekend is Conclave on the 29th, which is obviously a smaller budget film. But Moana 2, I mean, listening to the reactions from people yesterday during the trailer, everyone was like, hey, we should go watch this. We should go watch this. So I think it's going to make good money here in Malta as well, Moana 2.
How does it look on the cinema screen? I mean, it was like
Like Moana 1, like the first Moana, to be honest.
But is it
doesn't look as bad as it looked on the YouTube trailer, to be fair. More or less it looks like the first Moana. But you would think the first Moana came out in like 2016, I think, somewhere around that region of time. So it'll be interesting to see the actual film, the final actual product. I think there was one of the issues with the original trailer was they still hadn't worked fully on the animations, which could have been one of the issues there. It looked okay. I mean, it looked just as colorful as the first one. Talking about color, because today I'm going to be talking a lot about color in one of my reviews. Today we've got quite a few reviews, actually. We've got 3 reviews to get through. The first review we'll be going through is Blitz, which is the Steve McQueen World War II film, which I'll be reviewing later on. Second review for the day is The Piano Lesson. A Piano Lesson, which is basically a whole Washington family affair, because you've got Denzel Washington producing, you've got Malcolm Washington directing it, and you've got John David Washington in the starring role. It's basically almost the whole family. At least Washington didn't get his wife as well to work on it. So that's The Piano Lesson, which released on Netflix. And finally, we've got Wicked. I'll be reviewing Wicked, which released this weekend in Malta. And I'll be giving you my thoughts on that film, the adaptation of the musical. So
and the guy said he didn't have enough time to watch movies. Lies. Misinformation.
I had one day, and I watched all the films in one day, basically.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Which could be one of the reasons for my ratings. But you'll find out about my ratings later on.
Lol, okay.
Yeah, we'll get into them later on. Shall we get into the trailers, Franco? We've got trailer number 1, which looks like a very, very, very interesting trailer. I was quite critical of his latest film. It's not that I didn't love it. Not that I didn't like it. I didn't love it. I'm talking obviously about Luca Guadagnino's Challengers, which I enjoyed. I thought had some incredible cinematography, but it's a film that I need to rewatch, to be honest, because there were a lot of conditions in the cinema that didn't help, including very terrible sound. And sound in Challengers was very important. Did you end up watching Challengers, Franco?
Not yet. I'm still not on the train, so bear with me, viewers and listeners.
I think it's worth watching. I think it's worth watching, even though I think it's a flawed piece of work from Guadagnino.
I haven't watched anything by Guadagnino since he released
Call Me by Your Name.
Call Me by Your Name.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not even The Pool. I think he had something called The Pool as well with Ralph Fiennes and Dakota Johnson as well. So
to be fair, I think I skipped that one as well. So yeah,
I only remember one of his earlier movies. I think it was his second one called I Am Love with Tilda Swinton. So somehow I got stuck there because I remember liking it so much, and it was in the same era where I watched Consequences of Love of Sorrentino. And again, like beautiful camera work, and then it seemed like he went into this. Even in this movie, it shows he's filming, and this is in film most probably.
Yes.
Because it's got the halation and the glow. And it's like it's a Guadagnino movie.
Yes.
So I saw the trailer of this, by the way, to go back onto queer. Seems very, very interesting. Very interesting. Some interesting imagery as well with and how he uses the ghosting effect. How about you? What do you think?
I think it looks very promising. I think this is so Guadagnino took a very interesting turn. He took a very interesting swing with Challengers. I don't think that's the kind of film we usually expect out of him. We attribute him usually more to something like Call Me by Your Name, for example. And I think this is more what we've come to expect out of Guadagnino, which is that heartwarming relationship, which is going to end up in some kind of tragedy, most probably. No spoilers, but it's Guadagnino. We know there's going to be some kind of tragedy here, most probably.
Not only Guadagnino, it's William S. Burroughs, so get ready to be shocked as well.
It's going to be emotional. I mean, Call Me By Your Name, watching Call Me By Your Name with my family, that was, forget the whole peach scene. You know, I know there was a lot of talk about the whole peach scene, and of course.
There's
But,
listen. There's the beach scene and there's the bathroom scene in Saltburn. So
yeah. But genuinely, it was such a beautifully shot film and such powerful emotions from that film that rewatching it really solidified it as, you know, a really wow film for me. And this looks like more of the same. I think the setting is very interesting as well, because as we can see here, it's set in the 1950s, and we've got Daniel Craig, who stars as Drifter Lee, who recounts his life in Mexico City among American expatriate college students and bar owners surviving on part-time jobs and GI Bill benefits. So that's a very, very interesting setting. I don't think, has Guadagnino ever set a film in Mexico? I don't remember.
No. Italy.
Usually Italy, right? And obviously Challengers was in America.
Mostly Italy. Challengers America.
So it's a nice twist as well. The score, we have to talk about the score by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. So that, of course, it's probably going to turn into like a, you know, Denis Villeneuve and Hans Zimmer, you know, Luca Guadagnino, Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, where they're always combining together. I mean, their work on Challengers was great. So
it was great. I really like the techno music, and that it should go down well if you play it on a club as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think this describes it really well. Lustful, sweltering vibe. I think that very much describes what I got out of the trailer very well. It's exactly lustful, and you know, you can feel the heat watching this trailer. I think it was a very effective trailer, to be honest. Maybe slightly on the longer end, but yeah, I think it's a you know, it's a decent looking trailer. And I like the editing as well. The editing of the, you know, Daniel Craig, and then the comment by the critic, Daniel Craig. Yeah, it's an interesting approach to the trailer. So overall, yeah, soul-swellingly lush. I love these quotes, man. Undeniably beautiful, rapturous and revelatory, mesmerizing. These sound bites, man.
A quick tangent about the reviews. I'm really not looking at any reviews recently because they're so. I think they go into so much hyperbole right now that when I go into the movies, like, this is what you call beautiful. So I'm like, nope. I'm going in as blind as possible and judge by myself. I mean, but otherwise it looks beautiful, and that's really interesting. How like the poster looks amazing.
The eyes, they really play with the eyes here.
And
the blue. Very beautiful. It's reminding me, last week we spoke about Don't Look Now. Have you watched it, Franco? Don't Look Now? The Nicholas Roeg adaptation. And that film was also played a lot with blue.
It's red.
Red and blue. And blue as well.
Oh, really?
Red,
I have to
red,
watch it.
But blue, there was the sea. Obviously, the girl, you know, dies in the lake. The eyes of Donald Sutherland and the
wife
and the woman, the old woman who could see.
They
both
psychic.
have blue eyes, the psychic, yeah. And then there's one scene where the camera focuses onto her eyes and then transitions into the sea. It's beautiful.
I have to rewatch it.
The rain as well, when she's crying, and then it transitions to the rain.
There's always the problem with that movie for me is the ending. I remember
Really?
the end. I have a huge issue with the ending. Unfortunately.
I thought it was masterful. Like both the opening and the ending for me were.
No, the opening is great, but the ending, it's a story for another time. Maybe we should. By the way, guys, let us know. We're soon approaching the 100th episode.
Yes.
We were planning to do.
How about we do? I was thinking, Frank. I had an idea, and maybe our viewers can comment about it. I had this idea where we can take not our favorite films, because our favorite films, we've been talking about. We take 5 films that we love, and just chat about them, film by film. Because a watch along might be a bit of an. We could do a watch along as well. To be fair,
we can do a watch. We can do a watch along, and we can get people from Twitch as well. So I prefer a watch.
We can do a watch along and get people.
I prefer a watch along, and yes, obviously people can chat with us, and on Discord we can join us on Discord.
Are we going to go for a film we all love, or a film we haven't watched? Maybe. We'll have to decide now. We have to decide.
Like I was thinking, I had suggested to Bruce Doctor Strangelove, for example.
Doctor Strangelove. Been a couple of years since I watched it. I watched it with my dad.
That's one thing, and especially with the things going around in the world, I think it's a very apt movie. Or Don't Look Now as well looks interesting.
Don't Look Now. I just watched it though, so maybe something I haven't watched like last week because I had to watch it for university. Anyways, moving on to another Italian director, Franco. And this time we're going to be talking about Paolo Sorrentino. Who's a bit of a director who I think I've only watched two of his, La Mano di Dio, and what's the big one he made? The Fellini film.
The Great Beauty.
The Great Beauty, La Grande Bellezza. And that
you still have to watch Le conseguenze dell'amore and Il Divo.
Yes, I haven't watched Il Divo.
For me, one of his favorite. Il Divo is the top one for me. That's one of the top political movies, which is it's a thriller, but it's also very tongue in cheek.
Mm-hmm.
That Andreotti himself described it like it's una what was it that he said? He not una barzelletta, like he said it's like it's a joke of a movie, but it is a huge joke, and he actually was a huge joke on the people, and the humor in that movie is amazing, and the camera work again as well, the Blackfriars Bridge crane shot, amazing. But now we see him with Parthenope.
Yeah,
I liked. And Mano di Dio, when you see Il Divo and Mano di Dio, you wouldn't think it's the same director.
Interesting.
And even from The Great Beauty to Mano di Dio, there's a style.
Yes, there's a big jump. There's a big jump.
And I think this feels like he's going back to The Great Beauty sort of stylistic.
More magical realism in a certain sense. Which there's another Italian director, and Mario posted about her recently on Prickly Pears. What's her name? She made La Chimera.
Alice Rohrwacher.
Rohrwacher, something. She's been doing some very impressive work on that kind of like style and on those kind of themes as well. As always, Italy, having many talented directors, of course. And talking about La Grande Bellezza, because this film seems to focus quite a bit on like the concept of beauty and female beauty. This is Parthenope, which I find interesting, is actually not the Italian nominee for the Oscars for the best foreign film. It's not. I don't know why in my head I assumed that Parthenope was going to be the film that Italy uses, as its Oscar. But anyways. So A24 has unveiled the official trailer for Parthenope, which is releasing in 2025 officially. Parthenope, of course, born in the Sea of Naples in 1950, searches for happiness over the long summers of her youth, falling in love with her home city and its many memorable characters. From Academy Award-winning filmmaker Paolo Sorrentino comes a monumental and deeply romantic story of a lifetime. And what I think we can both agree on, Franco, this, by the way, has a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes. But whatever critics say, I don't think they can say that it is an ugly film.
What? Come again? Just a second.
Yes. I don't think critics can say this is an ugly film, because it just looks like a very beautiful film. Like,
even queer is at 77%. So
interesting. I'm going to be honest. Just watching this trailer, I think it's a very well edited trailer. I think it's a very well made trailer. It very much piqued my interest, and this is very much a film I want to watch, right? Even just, forget the whole A24 thing of it all, but just the fact that it's Paolo Sorrentino, going back, as we discussed, to his, magical realism kind of style. I think this looks very, very promising. What do you think, Franco?
I'm reading a bit of the reviews. I immediately contradict myself, but I'm trying to see why it is 32%. It looks beautiful. The problem with Sorrentino, and this is not like it's his female characters. I think the most fully formed female characters I've ever seen for Sorrentino were in both The Great Beauty and also in Mano di Dio, where they're not just something to behold.
Yeah, the figurehead.
Exactly, like they're not something like you'd see in a dream. They were more like tied to reality, and this seems it's going to.
Isn't he playing with that though here a little bit? It feels like because this whole look at how all the males react to her. Everyone's like staring at her. In the scene, for example, and when all the guys fall down when they see her walk by.
I was gonna say it is like Malena. And Malena, it's being mostly a coming of age movie, and the budding sexuality of a teenager made sense. But again, how much there's I have to see. I just read this it's a good review. Every work of art begins with a question. With Parthenope, Paolo Sorrentino asks, what if a woman was hot?
Nice one.
No, I mean, she's beautiful, and
is.
I'm gonna check it out. But it is a problem with Sorrentino, unfortunately, that his female characters are not fully formed. That they're very, it's again, nothing wrong for a female character to be hot. It's just there needs to be a character behind it as well. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes. Like, for example, Anora for me, the main character is hot. But there's also lots of
depth,
like lots of depth behind the movie in the character, and lots of inner world building. So we'll see. It looks beautiful. Naples also, that this guy was born in Naples because he's in love with Naples, and the way Naples' shot is always.
And Capri beautiful as well, man. He plays with Capri so much.
It makes me want to go visit. I really want to go visit. I've never visited.
Like the scene, for example.
I'm starting to.
So like it's a little. It's some scenes in this trailer are so over the top. I think something is going on. Like it can't be. I don't think Sorrentino is going to be that shallow, though. However, it's just going to be like there is a bit of a riff on that Monica Vitti film, the one that the American show as well plays on. What's that American show?
By Antonioni?
No. There's an American show on HBO which plays a riff on that Monica Vitti film where everyone's staring at her. I can't remember the name, but it's a famous scene with Monica Vitti walking around in a Sicilian town. In White Lotus.
No, that's Monica Vitti. I think that was Divorce Italian Style, if I'm not mistaken.
Let me see if I can find it. Oh, here it is. Yeah, found it. In La Ventura, that's the one. In La Ventura.
La Ventura. Oh, no. Okay, no.
In La Ventura. Reminds me a little bit of this, because then they did the play with Aubrey Plaza. And that's it. I can't show the whole thing, but with everyone kind of staring at her. Yeah. There's this whole scene, like everyone's staring at her, and obviously this is all fantastical in La Ventura, in White Lotus. It feels like so it feels like a little bit of a riff on that as well, in a certain sense. Of course, this is also La Ventura. Italians Italian men especially are quite well known for.
For being horny goblins.
Yeah, we're playing a little bit into obviously the whole.
No anti-Italian hate here.
No. No. I love Italy. I love visiting Italy
No.
and Sicily.
No,
Because that's Sicily.
listen, one thing I was disappointed as well with Sorrentino was youth. Like I stopped it. It was, I felt it too. He has he can be too shallow. Style over substance. He has a bit of a that's why I like El Divo. It was a perfect marriage of style and substance. Same with Mano de Dio. Mano de Dio is like he dialed down the style.
Yes.
And the substance was so great. Like
But
I've
very
never
emotional. Very
felt.
emotional.
Ooh,
film.
very emotional.
Yep.
And I think we also have a bit of a Mediterranean bias, I call it, because some of the moments reminded me of some of the quips.
Mush diki. We
So-
empathize a lot with these films because not only is the setting very familiar to us, but the cultures as well and the way of living
yes.
and there's just that vibe. I can't think of a better word than vibe, but the vibe is very Maltese as well. So for us, we can easily empathize with what's going on as well. Anyways, shall we move on to the reviews, Franco? Because I've got 3 reviews.
No news.
Not much with regard to news, to be honest. Not much with regard to news this week. Like I said, there was only that video game one, and
Yep.
I've barely played any of the. Actually, I haven't played any of those games, so I don't really have.
You haven't played 5 Hides Underwater. The Korean dating.
No, I have not.
Speaking
No,
of-
I have not.
Speaking of hot women and men and horn goblins.
No, I have not. No, I have not.
Oh my god.
But what I have done is I have watched Blitz, unfortunately. So,
Unfortunately.
yes, let's get into it. So, I have, I believe, even the Steve McQueen cover
All right.
from Sight and Sound. And I read the whole interview and I was really excited about what Steve McQueen was doing, you know, going for a new, the third man. Oh,
Il Lallo. Oh my god, okay.
yeah, it looks amazing. I had a whole discussion about the third man a couple of weeks ago with Prof. Salvo, by the way, about Orson Welles and how important Orson Welles was in that film. Anyways, so I read the whole article and interview with him about the approach he was taking and how he was trying to diversify from different World War II drama films. And I expected to get into this film and watch something new, get something fresh. And it does, in a certain sense, try and approach it in a fresh new way by giving previously unheard voices a voice. But it does so in a very,
Pedestrian way.
not pedestrian, because the filmmaking is very good, but the storytelling feels very, very standard, very by the books, which is not something you would expect out of Steve McQueen. But anyways, let's get into it. Apart from the fact that, before I start my full review, that you cast Saoirse Ronan and you don't give her, the central, most important role with the story focused on her, which for me was very upsetting. So that's something that definitely affected me. Anyway, so what is Blitz all about? Blitz is set in World War II London, and it stars Saoirse Ronan as Rita, and we've got Elliot Heffernan as her son, George. Now, Rita sends her son, or attempts to send her son, to the countryside, as many parents in London were forced to do during the Blitz in World War II, of course, sending their kids to areas which would not be bombed by the Nazi bombers. And however, George, midway through his journey, decides to escape and try to return back to his mom. And obviously there's also the grandfather, Gerald. That's Paul. There's Paul Weller in this. And anyways, what this leads to, and this really shocked me, this really surprised me, because I didn't expect this. I hadn't watched the trailers, to be fair, so I didn't know what to expect apart from the interviews I had read. This leads to this kind of dual narrative, basically, where part of the narrative is focused around the Saoirse Ronan character, Rita, and in it the focus is on the efforts of many women in wartime Britain, and we see them working in factories and volunteering to help as nurses and so on. So that's part of the narrative, right? The other narrative is that with George. And whilst I did quite enjoy the Saoirse Ronan part of the story, and I think that was the story we needed to focus on, where you got a strong focus on like what women were forced to do during the war and the efforts they had to go through and the suffering they experienced when the authorities wouldn't open the underground for people to take shelter in. Once that is what I wanted the focus of the film to be, then we get another story with the kid, George. Now, to be honest, from the beginning, I wasn't a big fan of the kid. I found him very obnoxious, actually. And so the fact that I believe 60% of this film has us following the kid, George, already was grinding on my bones. But anyways, apart from that, it takes a very weird tone.
Spoken like a true teacher.
Yeah. I spend almost 7 hours of my day teaching kids, so enough kids.
So enough obnoxious kids.
You know what they say? No, I can't say it, damn it. I can't comment about.
No.
Or I'll get a big smack on my butt. But this whole narrative with George, it's a very filmed very weirdly. Even the storytelling, it's like this. I called it in my Letterboxd review this Dickensian style adventure, where the villains are like really, "Oh, you come here, mate! Oh, you, what are you doing here, huh?" It's very weird. Even it's almost goofy at times, and you know, we see George making his way back to his mum, and he meets other kids, some who help him, some who try to either steal from him or whatnot. There's also a scene where he meets, oh my god, what's the name of? Let me find him here. Where he meets Stephen Graham, and Stephen Graham is very bad in this film. I'm sorry. I love him. I love Stephen Graham, but he's awful in this film. And he's like, "Oh, you, come here. You're going to go in and steal from me. You hear me? If you try and run away, I'm going to smack your forehead." And I'm like, really? Is this the tone we're going for a World War II drama? It's very weird. Very, very weird. Anyway, so that's part of the problem for me. That not enough focus on the Saoirse Ronan character, and Saoirse Ronan is excellent in this film, and she's got really nothing to play with. She's got nothing at all. She's given nothing, no script, nothing to play with here. She's such a talented actress, and it's such a pity because this should have been an Oscar role if ever I've seen one, to be honest. Also, she has a very good voice. She has a scene where she sings. A very, very good voice. So that's one of the big issues. So and to kind of sum it all up, I think the big issue is with the screenplay, right? Some of the dialogues was a little off. I think again, the direction that Stephen Graham received for his scenes was pretty terrible, in my opinion. Overall, the way the story was split up didn't really work for me. There are some decent moments. For example, there's one scene in the underground, which I already kind of like alluded to. There's one scene in the underground where we see the underground kind of like flooded. And that was very tense scene. Due to the bombing, the underground kind of floods. And they're trying to get out of the underground then. And it's really impressively shot, beautifully done. Although it does look a little too polished at times. Overall, I would say production design, the sets, the destruction all look quite believable in my opinion. Ultimately, the issue here, I believe, is the conflict between the suits at Apple and Steve McQueen. I believe the suits at Apple wanted this World War II drama, this conventional tale. Steve McQueen wanted to approach it more by giving a voice to, as I said, voices which have not been heard so far and hearing their experiences during World War II. And so what they did, instead of taking one vision, was try to mix both visions. So we've got part this very conventional story, this very conventional World War II story, part this weird Dickensian tale, and part then this interesting but ultimately inconclusive post-colonial perspective, where we kind of see and explore the experiences of people like George, people of color like George, and they experience the racism of this almost close to, because here we're basically reaching an end to the British Empire. And so we're reaching an end to the this kind of like empire mentality of the British, and we're looking at kind of like the racist impacts on a character like George, who's is traveling through London and kind of like, and sometimes it's done a little too on the nose, because like I get it if you're going to have one or two characters and you want to emphasize kind of like the racism that someone like George would have clearly experienced. But if every single scene is, a white guy being evil, or a white guy being misogynist, or next scene we've got a white guy again being overtly racist, it isn't as impactful, and it isn't as impactful as I think Steve McQueen, thought it would be, as he intended. And this is not to say again that this is the wrong approach. I think if the film focused on this perspective, this post-colonial perspective, but approached it in a much smarter, much more nuanced way, I think it could have worked very well. Ultimately, I got nothing out of this. The film was set up as this epic war film about the Blitz, at least the opening 15 minutes. Suddenly, it turns into a kind of like feminist film about the efforts of women. Then it turns into a post-colonial perspective to the film. Then it turns into a Dickensian adventure. It's scattered. It's far too scattered of a film. And in the end of the film, I was like, the Blitz was more or less window dressing. This is not a film about the Blitz. Which, a film called Blitz kind of like put me off a little bit. Definitely not one of Steve McQueen's greatest productions, let's put it that way. It's not going to appeal to World War II geeks. It's not going to appeal to soccer mums. It's not going to appeal to kids. I don't think it's going to appeal to anyone, to be honest. Looking at the reviews, so on IMDb, it's got a 6.3 here. It's got a 6.3. So clearly it's appealing to someone. And just going through the reviews. Yeah, not going to be reviews here. I'm curious because I have not looked at a single review for this film. So I really don't know what the overall thoughts are about this film. 5 out of 10. Societal impact, absolutely warrant, a high budget film. Yeah, I expected it to focus a lot on the societal impact, but it's so scattered in its storytelling and in its focus that there's a little bit about that, yes, but very little, very, very, you know that scene in The Lord of the Rings where he says like too little butter spread on too much bread. Bilbo, when Bilbo says too little butter spread on too much bread. That's what this feels like. Like you've got the bread, but you haven't got the butter.
The butter.
And yeah, very disappointing. I gave this a 2.5 out of 5, which is not a rating I expected to give a Steve McQueen film. So yeah, by the way, very unfortunate. Yeah, Franco.
Have you watched Small X, his series Small X?
No, I have not.
I mean, neither. I think it's a blind spot that I have to take care of as well. Because it seems Small X is it's highly recommended and highly rated as well.
Small X. When did he release? Oh, to 2020. All right.
So it's not that. And it has. I think for the themes that he wanted to go after, Small X seems to do a better job. This one, yep. And it's an anthology of 5 movies basically.
Interesting. Yeah, this is definitely one I would most definitely check out. You know what? Now we're mentioning this. I think that Steve McQueen took the money from Apple. And obviously he was forced to make a World War II film because Apple are really pushing their like historical period pieces. And I was like, okay, I'm going to take the money. I'm going to make a World War II film, but I'm going to focus on what I really care about because this is clearly what he cares about, right?
Oh, like you're saying, like it's an in fact, the post-colonial aspect of it is really interesting because many soldiers and other infantrymen were brought from the colonies as well.
But go fully into it. Don't just do like surface level stuff. Go truly into it. Why not? For example, there's a scene where I forgot the name of the actor, but I've seen him in something before. Let me see if I can find his name.
Harris Dickinson?
No, Harris Dickinson. I don't even know why the hell he was cast in this. Like his character is him, Benjamin Clement. I've seen him in something. Oh, in Dune, he was the guy Paul fights at the end of Dune. Yes, he was great. He was really good. He was very good. But he has like 2 scenes, and like this is the part where they went for the post-colonial like perspective with this character beating George and being like a bit of a father figure towards George, and where this was going, I was like, okay, now this is interesting, and then he vanishes. After like 2 scenes. Sorry for the spoiler, but I wouldn't recommend checking it out anyways. So that's very upsetting for me because it was going in an interesting direction, and then suddenly we meet Stephen Graham's character and he's like, "Oh, you go and steal into that room. Go and get me some stuff. Let's go for a drink, yeah, mate?" And I'm like, what? How did the tone shift so suddenly? And then you've got Serge Ronan with the most dramatic and powerful emotional moments. And then at the same time, you've got Stephen Graham going like this and going, and he needs to go. This is a really weird, very weird approach to filmmaking. But anyways, critics seem to love it, by the way, because I was just saw it's a 70, not love it, but overall, 100. Okay, well. Anyways, those are my thoughts on Blitz. Moving on, just a really, really quick review for the piano lesson. Which have you watched, Franco, any of the other 2 adaptations? Mo Rainey's Black Bottom and what was the other one?
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom.
Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and Fences. Have you watched any of the other 2?
Nope.
I haven't watched Fences. Fences I have not checked out. But I did watch Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and I really liked it. Actually, I think I loved that film. And this is very well rated as well, 7.2. Denzel Washington and Viola Davis. Yeah. And Denzel Washington seems to have a love affair with August Wilson and his plays.
Okay.
He's produced all 3, basically. Both Fences, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, which was very good. I really enjoyed. And now this, the piano lesson. All, I would say, quite similar themes, to be honest. It's very much a Washington family affair. Like I said, it's a Malcolm. His son is directing it. His other son, John David Washington, stars in this. So, And my first comment, and I think this pretty much defines my whole review, is that this is a film that is not entirely at ease with the change from stage to screen, but is ultimately saved by some brilliant performances and some very well-written dialogue. There are many scenes in this film where you're going to feel like you're watching a play. And both because of the setting, because it's pretty much one location for 85, 90% of the film. And if it's not just because of the setting, it's because of the very long conversations. And like I said, the dialogue is good. It's flowing, but they're very long conversations, like non-stop. Some scenes, I think they're like 5, 6, 7 minute long scenes of non-stop conversation.
Oh my God.
It's like watching a play, basically. So you're watching a play on screen. There are 1 or 2 actually quite cinematic moments, which were very well directed, and I'll get into them in a bit. But basically, it's the opening scene, which is very cinematic, which you can actually see in the poster here, and the final scene, which is very, very interesting approach, very horror-like in because basically, let me get into the story. So basically follows the lives of the Charles family as they deal with themes of family legacy and more in deciding what to do with an heirloom, the family piano. So there's this family piano, right? And on the one hand, you've got John David Washington as Boy Willie, who wants to sell the piano. On the other hand, you've got Danielle Deadwyler as Bernice, who wants to keep the piano. And there's Samuel L. Jackson as Doker, who is Daniel... No, who's their grandfather. Yeah, he's the grandfather, I believe. He's the grandfather of the kid. What's the name of the kid? Oh, her, Marita. She's actually very good. I know I joke a lot about not wanting kids in films, but she's a very good actress. She was very good in this role. There's also Ray Fisher as Lyman. I really liked him. And where is he? A Whining Boy. Michael Potts is also very good as Whining Boy. Yeah, so overall, it's a very good cast. And I think the casting for this was excellent. Danielle Deadwyler especially fantastic in the role. I think this might be an Best Supporting Actress nomination if I've seen one. I think she could be getting a nomination for this. So yeah, she was very powerful moments from Danielle Deadwyler, very emotional, and her role is very well written as well. So she gets some very good dialogue. On the other hand, John David Washington's performance might... I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to love it. I found it a bit too theatrical for my liking. This is a very gritty film for most of it, right? Very, very family-oriented, very relationship-oriented, with some fantastical moments here and there. But his performance is very kind of like loud, over the top, and... the
theater, yeah.
The theater, right? To be or not to be? That is the question. It's very much like that, right? And I don't think that The Piano Lesson is that kind of film where you should be like, and hello, I believe. Really? And it's every scene, every single scene. He's loud, he's very loud and very theatrical, right? Now, I don't know if he forgot that there were mics on set and that they're not shouting to an audience, and then obviously had to shout for the whole audience to hear him. But it's very overtly theatrical in his performance. Very intense, I'll give him that. Very, very intense, and he goes for it. I just doesn't really resonate with me, to be honest. The rest of the performances were quite composed. There was some very, very fun conversations. There's one scene in particular where they burst out into a song, which was great. Very well done. Samuel Jackson, Ray Fisher, Michael Potts, John David Washington all singing together. Very well done. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Overall, I'd say I didn't dislike this film. I actually had a decent time watching it. Some of the direction feels a little pedantic by Malcolm Washington. What I'm referring to again are the very long conversations, which again, great dialogue, but very tiring at times. But I have to mention the final 20 minutes, which I have already kind of again mentioned previously. Very, very, very strong final 20 minutes and very, very with a very powerful scene. And all hell lets loose. You get a lot of horror elements included in the film. Good sound design, good use of some very good body acting as well, some physical acting from John David Washington. And yeah, it's a powerful ending that really saves the film from being just another mediocre Netflix release. Should you check it out? I think it's if you're a fan of theater, you can check it out. If you're a fan of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom and of Fences, check it out. If not, it's not a must watch, definitely. I give The Piano Lesson a 4. Sorry, no, not a 4. A 3 out of 5. A 3 out of 5. A 3 out of 5, I think, is a solid score for The Piano Lesson. So that is it was 2 hours, man. 2 hours and 5 minutes. Didn't need to be 2 hours, 5 minutes, to be honest. Could have been much, much shorter.
So you're saying you're starting to see my snip kind of thing.
No, this really did not need to be 2 hours. Could have easily been an hour and a half.
No. There's it seems like it's a real recent whatchamacallit. It's a recent phenomenon where they cannot find the right the right balance of running time. Because like I said, in many classic movies have the perfect running time, like 90 minutes, done.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
And I think this is also a demand from Netflix. I think many production companies which want their viewership to the views to continue, right? Well, I think that also plays a part into this. But moving on to the final review, and oh boy, I'm worried about this. I'm a little scared to do this review.
Francesca's ready. Keyboard warrior Francesca engaged.
Oh boy. Oh god. I know who I'm going to receive a message from. Because I had already had a bit of a discussion last night with a big fan of the musical. Someone who's a massive fan of Wicked.
They liked it, so
Yes.
Let's start from there. So the musical fans, they have nothing to worry about most probably then.
So actually, yes, I think that's a good place to start the film. If you're a fan of the musical, and if you want a very, a film that sticks very closely to what the musical does, this is it. This is it. It's by the books, the first part of the musical, basically. All the songs are there, all the plot beats are there, all the characters are there, everything's there. If that's all you want, you're going to love it. You're going to end the podcast here. If you are like me, not a fan of the musical, but a fan of films, and obviously you could see the big hype about Wicked and you're curious whether you should check it out or not, well, here are my thoughts. So, Wicked, this massive cultural phenomenon, the book released in 1995, took the literary world by storm, and then obviously we had the whole Broadway and the whole musical, and everyone goes to London to watch Wicked, right? I have none of this. I haven't read the book. I haven't watched the musical. I've none of that. My only emotion linked to it is massive love, obviously, for the original, the 1939
The
Wizard of Oz, which I believe is Technicolor brilliance. Technicolor brilliance. And I'm not mentioning Technicolor just to mention it, because I'm going to refer a lot to color in this film. As you can tell, even from the scene, right? there is a big issue with the scene, and now I'll start moving in through a lot of photos. Like, this is a bit better, right? But there are a lot of scenes, which are a problem. Which are a bit of a problem, but slowly. So apparently Franco's done massive money, as Kevin mentioned before. I found the number here. It's $164 million opening weekend, which is crazy. That's already basically matched the $150 million budget it had. So it's clear to see massive success story, budgetary-wise, money-making-wise. The critics have been heaping praise non-stop. Audiences love it.
In fact, it's 90% both critics and audiences on Rotten Tomatoes as well.
It's got an A cinema score, which is like really impressive. So everyone seems to love it, right? Unfortunately, yours truly didn't have a very good time at the cinema, and for a number of reasons. This is written by Dana Fox and Holzman, directed by John M. Chu, of course, famous for Crazy Rich Asians. And okay, Wicked clearly has a lot to love, right? It's not a bad film. Let me make it clear, it's not a bad film. It's got a massive ensemble cast, and a very, very good cast. I went in ready to hate Ariana Grande, but she's actually my favorite. Watching the film, Ariana Grande was my favorite actress in this, singer, but she's also.
I mean, she had the background in the Disney.
Yeah, true. She had background in the Disney shows. Yeah, I forgot that. That might explain. She's got very good comedic timing. Very, very, very good comedic timing. I was surprised by how good her comedic time. Her line delivery is also very good. She does some very good physical acting as well, and overall stage presence is there. So I think obviously this is not some massive dramatic role for her. It's mostly comedic with a lot of singing, of course, right? And I think that's perfect for her. I think that's perfection for someone of her talents. So she was my favorite, and to be honest, if it was not for Ariana Grande, I would probably have really disliked this film. But her character, Galinda. She's a Galinda. She's Galinda. Galinda was actually the highlight of the film for me. Every time she pops up, she made me laugh, which is, obviously a positive for her. Opposite her is Cynthia Erivo, who has been mentioned by many as being a favorite for Best Actress. She's not bad at all. There's a decent performance here from her as Elphaba. I don't think it's an Oscar-winning performance at all. Like, thinking of recent female performances that I've loved, for example, Tar with Cate Blanchett, like that's, and she didn't win Best Actress. That's an Oscar-winning performance, right? In my opinion. Toni Collette in Hereditary, that's an Oscar-winning performance, and she also didn't win that. That's where I'm watching it. I'm like, yeah, this is a performance that deserves to win. Watching Cynthia Erivo, again, she's fine. She goes through all the dramatic moments of her character solidly. It's a solid performance, but nothing where I was like, whoa, and I'm feeling so emotional for what I'm seeing on screen. It's an okay performance at best, in my opinion. A lot of people clearly disagree with me. I also really enjoyed the dynamic between the two, between Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. I think they start off obviously at loggerheads with each other, and but slowly we start to see that relationship develop between them, and they start to warm off each other, and I think that relationship is done very well. And there's, for example, one scene where they start to dance together, and it's really well done. Actually, I start to feel a bit of emotion in that film, in that scene. Unfortunately, that's the issue with the film. That, and here we're talking about a 2 hour and 40-minute film. That is a part one of the whole thing. Now, the film is ultimately a prequel, and it falls into all the trappings of a prequel. Did you want to find out how the yellow brick road was made? Where did the idea come from? Let's spend 20 minutes talking about the yellow brick road. Did you want to find out why there are flying monkeys? Let's spend the 20-minute scene into turning the monkeys into flying monkeys. And I'm like, who cares why there's a yellow brick road? There's a yellow brick road. It's fun. It's colorful. That's great. Who cares why there are flying monkeys? There's flying monkeys. Great. It's creative. I don't need a 20-minute scene showing me the magic that created the flying monkeys. And I don't need a whole setup scene of them choosing color for the brick road. Why? Focus on the characters rather than focusing on all this fan pandering. And again, sometimes when I'm watching a Star Wars film and there's some very fun fan pandering, I enjoy it. So I get it. If you're a fan of this, maybe this is the stuff you wanted to see. And maybe you wanted to find out where the idea for the yellow brick road came from. But I'm not a fan, and I thought it was a waste of time.
It kills the magic of it all, Pearl.
Yeah, it does, right? It does. Now, obviously, there are good ways of doing it, because let's be honest, Andor is pretty much a prequel to a prequel.
But
it's done very smartly.
There's a character arc. There's no need of us seeing. I don't. So we see with season 2, but the first season, you'd almost think it's something standalone as well. Like it's part of the Rogue One universe because of Andor himself.
Exactly, and the focus is very much on the character dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it doesn't one. At least what it does, it's. I mean, if we're making comparisons of Andor, it enforces the world. Like it not enforces it.
Strengthens, strengthens.
Yes, strengthens the world. Strengthens the world building in a fantastic manner that you don't see it in other Star Wars franchises, and especially with what's it called, the Skeleton Crew.
With
There was
the Acolyte.
the Acolyte, Skeleton Crew as well, because Skeleton Crew doesn't it just looks like Goonies in space
Pretty much.
when it doesn't have to. But again, it's like why and the monkeys, I thought as far as I know, they weren't supposed to be scary. I thought they had a different. I would have imagined that they had a bit more of a tragic origin rather than the magic. Or is it what? How was it portrayed?
It's kind of portrayed as being a bit of a mix-up. They're like, I don't want to spoil the film, but the way it's portrayed is more on the lines of they're trying to use what's her name, Elphaba, and use her powers basically. That's kind of the approach they take, and it is a little tragic. Yes, it is the way it's portrayed, but. Did we really need it? I don't think we really needed it, to be honest. But anyways.
The yellow magic brick road, I mean, it's just a road, It's like the infrastructure Malta making a drone video about Coast Road, basically.
And it's a whole 10-minute scene, mind you, 10 minutes definitely, on them discussing different colors. Shall we go for purple? Shall we go for blue? Shall we go? No, it doesn't look good. Go back. Shall we go for green? No. And I'm like, really? What the fuck is going on? Anyways, this isn't even the worst thing, mind you. The worst thing about the film, and I think you know where I'm going with here, is this has been harped on endlessly on Twitter, on Reddit. But I have to say, for a film that has Nathan Crowley as its production designer, some really beautiful sets. There's one scene in a library. In this scene, the library is so beautifully designed. Like so many practical sets. Amazing. Like the Wizard of Oz whole set. Incredible. Really great stuff. But the fact that for some reason, either they didn't have a gaffer on set, or he fell asleep during many of these scenes. Because in some of the scenes, I literally couldn't see anything. It was so dark. There are some scenes where I'm like, what is going on? I cannot see Elphaba's face. It's dark. Nothing. You can't see anything. They went for a very weird approach. They went for trying to go for a realistic look. Where, if you're in a dark room, unless there's a source of light, there's no light.
God.
And I'm like, really? And there are scenes. And you know what the most egregious scenes are? When you've got just a little bit of light coming in from a window. And I'm currently at the movie. It's boring.
Wow. And it's so boring that she had to find us.
Oh, that's funny. Nice one, Dana the Explorer. Oh, that made me laugh.
Is she also, let me find her. Is she also a reviewer? Because just in case, we give her a subscribe.
Oh, that's funny. That was funny.
Dana the Explorer.
She
is. Let's give her a subscribe.
Okay, she deserves a subscription.
2K subscriptions. I'm sorry, Dana.
I'm sorry for you. I experienced it last night as well, so I can empathize with what you're going through. Because it's true, what Dana said is true. It's boring. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. And can I tell you, in the first half of the film, nothing happened. Nothing happened. No plot points happen. Literally, all we see is setup of all the different characters, lots of songs, and, let me be honest, the songs are not very memorable, mind you. The songs are...
Oh, God.
I know this might be heresy for a lot of theater kids, but I'm not a big fan of those songs. None of those songs scream amazing. Okay, the flying song, what's it called? Gravity. was okay. Okay, that was a good song. There's one Popular, I think it's called, with Ariana Grande, which was fun, quirky, good stuff. But nothing I'm going to go home, nothing I came home listening to. Like when I watched Wonka, for example, there were some very good songs which I listened to for quite a long time. When I watched obviously West Side Story is a classic, but when I watched West Side Story, there are some songs I still hum today. When you watch, I don't know, Les Miserables or mention any musical.
Then I'm saying the songs lack soul and feeling, but my niece is enjoying it.
Fair enough.
It is. To be honest, I recently watched something. I don't know if you follow him, Dana, FD Signifier. He was discussing something with Anthony Fantano, and he made a really, really scathing observation of today's generation, where everything is so superficial. And that they don't, or for example, imagine me wearing a Nirvana shirt means I love the group. For today's generation, them wearing a Nirvana shirt is just because it looks great. I don't know if you're getting me. It's all about aesthetics rather than the meaning.
The problem is the aesthetics aren't there. I mean, the sets are there.
No,
she's
saying like it lacks soul and feeling. So it's all aesthetics, no substance, almost.
But if it looked great, I mean, fine. It's a good-looking film, but it lacks the soul.
Yeah,
Fair
it's
enough.
style over substance. Yeah.
3 out of 5. You give it for the style. But the style is ugly. I'm sorry to say. The sets are amazing, and Nathan Crowley is going to most definitely win best production design.
Totally. It's the supreme brand effect. Wow. Damn.
So most definitely the set production design, hats off. And I remember Nathan Crowley describing one of the many times he had to argue and fight for physical sets with the whole theme, where he's like, he was the only guy trying to make sure that the sets and everything is practical.
Just to give you a bit of context, Zena, Andrea, Nathan Crowley came to give a workshop here in Malta at the film festival, and Andrea went to his basically his masterclass, and he was explaining like I remember you mentioning the tulips.
Yes. The 9 million tulips. And he had to, because he said that the only thing these people listen to at the end of the day is money. So he was like, let's plant all these tulips. And he compared the budget to buying the bulbs and getting workers and so on, and the CGI budget for making the tulips with CGI. Then he proposed not only, and then obviously selling the tulips. So they would, and comparing the budgets, he said, the budget for the practical tulips, actually, having actual tulips, 9 million actual tulips, was much cheaper than actually making CGI tulips, which is very impressive, right? And thankfully, Nathan Crowley managed to convince them to do that, managed to convince them to build an actual train. There's an actual physical train. The train looks great. The color grading on it looks horrible. Why is a photo of the set, why does a photo on set look much better than the scene in the film? That's what I want to ask. Another example. Why was I watching a video on Architecture Digest? Madonna.
Wait, I'm really surprised. Why didn't they go down at least from a matter of visual? Why didn't they go down the route of Barbie?
That's the weird thing. I know why, because the director John M. Chu said he wanted to go for a really realistic feel, so that his characters feel real and not fantastical.
But it is a freaking fucking fantastical world.
This is wicked. This is wicked, man. This is wicked. God damn it.
How do you go? Oh,
and I want to find a photo of, like, the lighting is so jarring in so many scenes. Madonna, man, YouTube. Like, look at the sets. Man, I can't scroll 2 minutes and there's an ad. Jesus Christ, man. Like, look at...
Ads.
Another one. Thankfully, they're blocked, so we don't see the ad, but... So that's a photo. I promise you... This is a photo. I promise you, the tulips didn't look this colorful in the cinema. At least in my cinema. To be clear.
This is behind the...
Yeah, there you go. Look how colorful. I didn't see this color in the cinema.
So this is behind the scenes, basically.
Exactly. This is the tulip, the famous tulip.
Jesus Christ.
No, it's beautiful. Oh, even just seeing the whole. This is when because he did this as well. He gave the example of planting the cornfields for Interstellar with Christopher Nolan. The whole corn scene, that was all planted for the film. And he used that as an example because he said, when I'm working with Christopher Nolan, I don't have to argue for making practical sets. He demands. He's like, he not even demands. He doesn't even need to say it. Everyone working on a Christopher Nolan film knows that as much as possible, everything is going to be practical. But on Wicked, he didn't have Christopher Nolan on his side. He had to fight for every single thing. Thankfully, he won most of the arguments again, and deservedly so. They're going to win Best Production Design because even that scene, really, really impressive stuff. This scene, great stuff, and the whole film benefits from Nathan Crowley's production design. Some really impressive stuff, very detailed as well. Everything makes sense. The school looks great. Again, everything makes sense. The set for the Wizard of Oz's palace looks incredible. But unfortunately, like I said before, for some reason, either they decided not to hire a gaffer, or he fell asleep in many of these scenes because the lighting was terrible. And for some reason, all the colors, all the amazing colors you see on the set are incredibly muted, and there is no contrast. And can I say something that's going to sound a little bad? Well, I have to say it. You know how Elphaba is green? Can I say that in some scenes I couldn't even distinguish her and the grass behind her?
Oh my God. Oh.
And that's bad. That's very bad. Couldn't they go for a bit of contrast when in post-production to ensure that we can distinguish her face from the grass behind her? That's bad. That was very, very, very bad. And there are some scenes at night where I'm like, I'm trying to see what's going on, and I can't see what's going on. So those are just some of the issues. And unfortunately for me, it's not memorable like Wonka was, or like West Side Story was, or I mention any recent musicals that have come out recently.
To tell you the truth, Wonka it wasn't for me. It's a great bubblegum movie with good. There are some good set pieces as well, but it's just not for me. Maybe I'm a curmudgeon.
You watched it, Franco?
Wonka, the Chalamet one, right?
The Chalamet one, yeah.
Yeah, very colorful. So
colorful, so well produced.
And it's the same director as Paddington. So he knew what he was going after, because even Paddington is a very colorful affair. So there's that. And but it's not just bubblegum. There is an emotional anchor as well with him and his mother, and
very
why
much
he's
so,
making
very
chocolate. Much so. And even the Oompa Loompas, it's not.
Hugh Grant, man, it's so funny. Oh.
Like the origin of the Oompa Loompas is not like pushed in or tagged into the narrative. Again, it's not for me, but it doesn't, like, it was enjoyable. I won't say it was memorable. I still remember the scenes, but for example, like if I can mention to you these scenes, and how certain moments, like I remember speaking of production design, I remember his chocolate maker machine.
Man.
So there's that. So okay.
And West Side Story as well. And they need to have a look at West Side Story and look at the lighting and that.
That's the Spielberg one.
Spielberg
because
one, yeah.
I want to watch the original before I watch the Spielberg one, to be honest, because that's also a blind spot.
Plus, very memorable songs. In West Side Story, especially, man. Jesus.
By the way, is it Dana or Dina? By the way, sorry for mispronouncing, just in case. But I hope you're still alive. And thank you for tuning in too.
And can I say one last thing before I conclude this review? Obviously the big scene is defying gravity, right? And the film is slow, and like Dina said, it's very boring at times. And the first part of the film is literally just introducing the characters and the setting. That's it. Nothing happens. Second part, stuff finally starts to happen. The relationship between the two develops, between Elphaba and Glinda. They finally go to see the Wizard of Oz, and stuff starts to happen. And we have the culminating scene with the defying gravity scene. And can I say I was shocked how poorly shot that scene was? So obviously, no spoiler, right? She's, Elphaba starts to fly on her broomstick. I don't think that's a spoiler for anyone. And for some reason, they went for a shaky cam. And we're like seeing her fly, and the camera's going like vroom, 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 and it's edit, cut. Like, almost gave me a headache watching that scene. And to make matters even worse, then you've got the bloody CGI flying monkeys, which, sits on the floor. They looked fine. Flying, they looked really bad. I'm sorry. And it all plays a part in ruining what should have been this really powerful, emotional scene. So that's another issue, right? And it's a big build-up. And when we finally get to somewhere, it ends. After 2 hours and bloody 40 minutes of a film. This should be halfway into the film. This should have been right before the break. And then
I think they wanted to do a Dune for the girly pops, but
Dune works.
Dune works. So I mean, and it deserved this. I told you immediately. I think it was my first reaction. I said 2 hours 40 minutes for a part one. Wicked, as far as I remember, is self-contained. Like even the musical, there's no part one, part two.
How long is the musical?
No, I think I don't think it's 2 hours. I would say Wicked the musical.
It's about 2 hours and a half. So it's shorter than part one of the film. Yeah.
It could be that this was not speaking. You were speaking a lot about adaptations. This worked more on stage as far as stagecraft and creating magic on theater, because you're not gonna have visual effects, because special effects is something practical. The visual effects, you don't have VFX on theater, but you do have special effects, and the way you create like a model of the dragon or how you make the flying monkeys work as well. So there's a certain element of wow, how did they do it? And you're enjoying it because your mind is considering both of those things at once. But with this one's like, if you're going to see something that doesn't transport you whatsoever to a magical world, it's like, was Harry Potter? But then again, Harry Potter has because again, if we're going to mention a fantasy world, Harry Potter had the connection to the real world, so you did have to have a certain sense of the movie being grounded in reality. And the first movie that comes to mind is Prisoner of Azkaban. I think that was one of the most grounded in reality.
That's masterfully shot. That's a masterfully shot film. I watched it recently, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Tristian's cousins came over and we watched it together. And, I fought to watch that film for obvious reasons, right? Because of Alfonso Cuarón. But watching that film, it's coming from... And I love the first two Harry Potter films. I love the first two. They are great for what they stand for, right?
And it's Christopher Columbus as well. So
he's a masterful director as well.
Yeah, especially having his Home Alone in his pocket and other movies.
But
So
the
he-
change
he
in
do-
tone really works in the third one, because suddenly the themes of the third book are much more mature. And we're dealing with criminals, and now we're dealing with murder and subterfuge and mystery. So it makes a lot of sense. And Alfonso Cuarón really embraces this change in without forgetting the whole magical element of it all. But like watching, let me bring it up on screen. Just open up the trailer, like you just looking at the lighting of this. There's one scene where he sees the Grim Reaper, where he sees in one scene, it's incredible. Like, look at this lighting.
The Dementor.
Like, look at this lighting, and look at the lighting on Hermione there.
Whole Patricia, because it keeps going out of life on my feed. Okay. Yeah.
That's what I expect out of a fantasy film, right? I mean, this is at night, but who cares that it's at night? I can see Ron's face because it's a fantasy. Because nobody is asking what source of light is this for me to see Ron's face. Yes, it's night. Yes, it's dark. But is anyone questioning what is this source of light? No, because it's a fantasy. And nobody cares. But this is a talented director. And again, John Chu is a talented director, mind you. I'm not saying that John Chu is not a talented director. I mean, Crazy Rich Asians has slowly becoming a cult classic. But for some reason, I don't know why they decided to go with that approach, with this more... And it's funny saying it's pretty much an oxymoron. A realistic approach to Wicked. it's an oxymoron, right? Because Wicked is classic fantasy. Like, and yesterday I was like, go home. To everyone who loved Wicked, I was like, go home and switch on Wizard of Oz. And look at the colors in Wizard of Oz. And look at that transition. When Judy Garland walks out of the house and into the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And tell me...
That's why I'm saying Barbie, because Barbie there was, that when she passes the threshold into the real world, I mean, it just has, for me, I think it had more contrast.
Exactly.
But Barbie's world had so much pop and color in her world as well. I mean, but because it's a fantasy world.
Like, look at that, man. Even just the lipstick.
Pops.
It's such a difference, So, and then the color and the road. Like, again, who the hell cares? Why this is yellow? It's yellow. It's a fantasy. Leave it at that. Anyways, enough rant, I think, on Wicked.
Anyway, so the road is just yellow, just cause. So the yellow is just, they just chose the color.
No, they spend like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 minutes discussing what color the road should be.
But is there like the yellow represents danger? No, the yellow represents hope.
No, I think they just decide and they think it looks pretty. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It just looks pretty.
Yeah. Poor writing. Bland songs. Although, to be fair, some of the singing is excellent. Don't get me wrong. Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo, great singers. No question about it.
Ariana Grande.
100%. Their voice is insane. And Cynthia Erivo is has a very powerful singer as well. So the singing is great. And some of the set pieces are fun to watch. Ariana Grande is funny. You have a solid cast. Michelle Yeoh is delightfully evil when she needs to be. Jeff Goldblum, quite muted. I expected more from Jeff Goldblum, to be honest.
But to be honest, and this is he's going the route of Ryan Reynolds. You don't go for a Ryan Reynolds movie to watch the character. You watch Ryan Reynolds. You don't go for a Jeff Goldblum movie to watch the character. You go for Jeff Goldblum. So
when I saw his face on the wall, I was the only one in the cinema to burst out laughing. I just seeing Jeff Goldblum's face on a wall, like etched onto a wall. I just burst out laughing. I think everyone was like, "What's this guy laughing at? He's crazy." But obviously the whole meme of Jeff Goldblum for me is, is peak.
They put him like this. Yeah,
No, they put his face. His face is like.
Okay.
I don't know. It just made me laugh. So they have all the ingredients to make a great film. Just a lot of creative decisions, which I very much disagree with, unfortunately. And I'm questioning whether I should give this a 2.5 or a 2. Oh, it's a tough decision. Is this a pass?
I think you can go for it too, because if at least because Gladiator there was you said that at least the production design in Gladiator popped.
No, great and well shot, very well. This wasn't well shot at all. This was very poorly shot. That's another issue. The cinematography was pretty dull and boring, and again, I mean, we're going to blame the lighting on the cinematographer as well, to be honest. Because the cinematographer is usually responsible for the lighting, obviously working hand in hand with the director. So yeah, I think you're right, Franco. I think this is a 2, very much a 2. I left yesterday thinking it's a 2.5, but it's one of those films like Gladiator last week, where I left the cinema thinking it's a 3, and the more I thought about it, I gave it a 2.5. But Gladiator was fun. I was engaged throughout the whole of Gladiator. Here with Wicked, I was just thinking, when is this going to end for most of the film? So, yeah, that's a 2. A 2 for me. Yeah. Disappointing week, Astra. Disappointing week.
Yeah.
It's films. I had really high expectations for Blitz. I had such high expectations for Blitz. I was like, Steve McQueen war epic? Yeah, hell yeah. Wicked, I didn't really have high expectations. Sorry, Franco.
I think you should check We Live in Time, because We Live in Time is out.
Yes,
it's
I will.
Streaming, so
I will.
And get your time back by watching The Cranes Are Flying. I think it's if you want great camera work. Oh my god! back, I know I'm circling back to the beginning, but there's one shot she moves across the. You know how the image and the camera is so kinetic. Like it's like it's flowing and still you see a portrait of very like and the main characters walking around these characters, but contained in those frames there's the story of these like secondary characters. It's beautifully shot and very emotional as well. As like there are some moments where oh my god, like there's a moment where she bursts into the scene and sees the result of a bombardment. Cinema.
It's reminding me a little bit of the cinematography of Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire. The very dynamic camera work.
Again, I have to watch it because that was testing my patience. But I will give it again.
Today. Just stay there.
It's getting old. It's getting old.
Yeah, I think it's tired of Wicked. I think it wants to end the podcast. I think Franco, it's not 1 hour and a half today. I thought it would
1
be
hour
only
and a
an hour.
half. No, but we can end it here and tell us what you have watched. Comment, like us, subscribe to Dana or Dina the Explorer. Dina the Explorer. I think this is a new one. I think she's also friends with what's his name? The other guy, the other creator you mentioned that you sometimes speak to.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Jesus.
Movies.
Oh, mama. Movie.
That's fine.
Oh, I can't remember.
Aye. Anyway,
Yeah.
another channel that Andrea speaks to. Most probably it's the same orbit. So
I think so. I think it's the same orbit. Yeah.
So
I believe so.
Give them a follow, guys, and thank you for following us as well. Anything else?
I think that's it, Franco. I think we can call it a night tonight.
Call it a night.
It's
Yeah,
been a good one, a good solid 1 hour and a half. Next week, we've got nothing big coming out, right? Next week. I think.
Conclave.
Conclave. We'll go watch
I'm
it.
gonna check out We Live in Time as well.
We Live in Time. Yes. That comes out. When does that come out?
I think it's out already. You
Oh,
can
it's
watch
out.
it,
It's out. It's out. It's out as well.
Yeah.
And you know what's also out, and I need to watch is that Indian film. The Indian film that is being called a favorite for the best international Oscar.
Was it reviewed on Prickly Pears recently as well?
It was. I forgot. But there's an Indian film.
No. I know. I think it's directed by a woman.
Yes, that's the one I'm talking about.
Different things altogether. So yeah, I know which one you're talking about as well.
That I'll try and watch this week as well if I have the time. But depends on time, of course. And I think we can end it here. By the way, there's Marama Corlett on in We Live in Time. By the way.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so shout out local talent.
Indeed. She's been in some big stuff recently, making the rounds. Okay. Anyways, thank you to all the viewers and listeners for joining us today. Hope you had a good time. I have had a good time as always, Franco.
Not in the movies, though.
Reviewing them, yes. Watching them, no.
Reviewing them, yes. Watching them, no. Anyway.
We're off. Have a good night and see you guys next week on the Ad Lib Podcast.